Beretta's 694 has been one of the best-selling sporting clay guns to come out on the UK market. However, recently it has had some very, very strong competition, but Beretta have come back with their revenge model, the new 694 DLC. Okay, here we have it, Beretta's brand new 694 DLC. Now, there are a couple of changes to the gun from the original, the two main ones being the addition of that DLC coating on the action, as well as the addition of the Stellium Pro barrels. Now, the Stellium Pro barrels have come from the DT11. I shot one of those, I think it was late last year. We all know how good they are, but the other nice addition that they've made to it is the change in the rib. So they've gone for a 10 to 7mm tapered rib with one of their old school tram lines down it. Now, traditionally, I'm not a big fan of tram lines, but it's actually quite narrow and it really seems to pull my eye. The other mechanical adjustment is the change in the position of the hold open catch. Traditionally, hold open catches on Berettas used to be on the side of the action down here, and they've moved it to right at the top of the action. It's been designed, as they've said, to give it a bit more of a premium feel. The best way I can describe it is it requires a lot less effort to close it. Normally, with the hold open catch being to the side, it might require sometimes that you've got to close the gun, but now with this new system, just requires zero effort at all. The final addition will be the change in stock finish. Now, the earlier 694s, if you got them really wet, had a few issues. They have added a new weatherproof coating, which sits a little bit heavier with a little bit of a higher shine, but it's designed to stick up to the temperatures and weather and anything you want to put it through, so it works as hard as that DLC coating does. Now, it's been a while since I've shot 694, so I thought we'd come give it a proper test. So we've come to Grimsthorpe Castle and take it around their sporting layout and see how good it is. Pull. 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 Now, we're about, what, 5 stands in, and that is absolutely lovely to shoot. The brakes with those Stellium Pro barrels and the chokes matched together. I mean, we've got the modified and improved modified in, just absolutely brilliant, as you would expect. Now, I have put the slightly longer pad that comes in with it. It's still a touch too short for me, but it is very, very similar to shoot to the DT11 in regards of recoil and quality of brakes. It's going to be a difficult one to review because the 694 has been such a good model for such a long period of time that there's kind of the love child of the DT11 with that 694. It's one of those guns that was just always going to be good. Oh, Paul. Pull. Pull. Now, traditionally, I'm not a big fan of tram lines, but that is a very, very nice thin tram line, and it just pulls the eye slightly. I mean, there's a touch limit cast on it for me. I'm just a little bit over the right hand side, but it really does just pull that eye in really, really beautifully. I mean, again, I'm going to say it again, the brakes with those Stellium Pro barrels are just absolutely epic. I'm going to whip the shot cam off for the last two stands and just get a feel for the gun without that on. I mean, it actually handles quite nicely with the shot cam on, I'm not going to lie, but just bring that weight down, bring the weight back into the middle of the gun and just see what it's actually going to shoot like properly when you haven't got that on the front of it. Pull. Pull. Okay, let's do the specification on the one that we have got here. So, starting at the choke end, you have got the Optima HP extended chokes into the 32-inch Stellium Pro barrels. As you would expect, 3-inch chambered, steel proof and obviously multi-choke on the 694 DLC action with the new weather finished stock. Now, right-handed, I have put the longer pad on, which took me up to 14 7/8, and it tips the scales at £8.6, which for me is my precise perfect weight. Now, I have one gripe with this gun, and I'm going to get it out the way straight away. My worry with this is that what is it going to do to the original 694 market? They retail at pretty much the same value of 4.5. And if I've got that and the standard 694 like we've got on the shelf over there next to each other, I'm going to pick that because of the Stellium Pro barrels. And you just would, because you're going to get more consistent patterns, better downrange energy, everything that you want out of a gun. The only saving grace is that these are going to come through in limited numbers. So they're not going to be as easy to get hold of as the original 694. But still, it is the only gripe that I've got with the gun. Everything else about it, I think, is absolutely spot on. As I said earlier in the video, it was always going to be one of those guns that is very, very difficult to review because the 694 has been such a good gun for Beretta and GMK, as well as the DT11. And this is an amalgamation of the two. So it was never going to be one of those guns that I went out and didn't enjoy shooting. And it's one of those guns that's difficult to say quite a lot about because there are so many 694 and DT11 reviews out there on the internet for you to watch. And this is the love child of the two. Now, as you saw, I shot the first 10 stands with the shot cam on. Now, the amazing thing that I noticed when we dropped onto stand 11 and stand 12 was I genuinely didn't know I'd taken it off when it came down to perceived recoil and muzzle flip. The gun didn't seem to behave any differently in those aspects. Yes, okay, a little bit more front end light or pointy, whatever you want to call it. It just, the gun was a little bit quicker. And you would expect that taking the shot cam off, but you would also expect to feel a little bit more recoil and have a little bit more muzzle flip. And I didn't. And that's obviously down to those Stellium Pro barrels and how they handle the recoil. The other thing that I do really like about this is the addition of that weatherproof stock finish. Yes, okay, might not be for everybody. It's that nice high gloss finish. It's quite heavy, it's quite dense, but if it's going to keep the weather out, you can go out with this gun in any weather and it will just stand up to anything. Again, I think that is a really, really nice addition. Also, I quite like the black action. It's just, with the yellow, it's that little bit more out there. There was a couple of people that looked at it on the day when we filmed and they were a bit like, maybe a little bit loud, a little bit out there, but I quite like it. It just seems to stand out. Now, I know Beretta did a limited edition 31-inch with the black and the yellow, but it obviously didn't have that DLC coating on it. So you've got exactly the same thing, just much harder wearing. Now, they are going to be available in 30-inch and 32-inch with adjustable and non-adjustable stocks in left and right hand options. As I've already said, the retail is going to be about £4.5 on them, but you are going to have to be hot on your heels if you do want to find them, because they are limited numbers. Now, we've ordered one in 32-inch adjustable comb right hand. As soon as that comes in, I will get it on the website for you guys. Like I say, there's not much more I can say about it. The only noticeable thing that I really did pick up on was that tram line in the rib. Now, I'm not a massive fan of tram lines, but a 10 to 7 mil rib in general is not a big rib. So to have a really nice, narrow tram line down it, it actually really worked for me. Now, this might cause a little bit of argument for you. I always say that you do look at your rib. You have to know where that gun is. Yes, okay, when you are shooting, you don't look at the gun, you look at the target. Now, with that tram line, it really honed my vision. It was almost like tunnel vision. It pulled my eye in. And I was very, very aware of where that barrel was without having to look at it. And I could just focus on that target. And it did make a difference. I mean, we went around Grimsthorpe, I shot my 100. I've never shot this gun before we went out and filmed, and I shot an 83 with it. I just felt very comfortable with the gun. Like I say, I was very, very aware of where that barrel was without looking at it. And it's very, very difficult to explain because, like I say, obviously, you know, we all say you don't look at your rib, but being aware of it is very, very important. You need to know that that gun is pointing where you're looking. And that made me do it with just like utter ease. And it's genuinely got me thinking. I mean, I don't like a big heavy rib with a big tram line. It just seems to put me off. But that really narrow little tram line just zoned me right into that gun. I just knew exactly where it was and felt so incredibly comfortable with it. And that's really all I've got to say about it. I don't know. It's just one of those guns that, again, everything that comes out of Beretta is always going to be good. And it is. They've just absolutely nailed it. The addition of those Stellium Pro barrels, even without the DLC, even without that rib, even without that addition of the weatherproofing finish on the stock, just the addition of the Stellium Pro barrels alone is just a fantastic idea. Just giving shooters at that lower price point better consistency, better patterns, and better downrange energy is just awesome. And I really do think it is for the price point. It's fantastic. And that's really, I think, for me, is the absolute best of it, is the barrels. That is the standout point to me. Obviously, I've shot the SL2 recently. I've shot the DT11. I've shot 694. And then obviously having them come together to produce this for the price point that it is, I think is absolutely a brilliant, brilliant idea. So thank you for watching this week, guys. Be back to you next week with another video.